Keeping your blood sugar in check can help prevent complications and maintain overall health and well-being. It's especially important for people with type 2 diabetes or for those at risk of developing the condition. In today's video, we'll discuss the glycemic index and glycemic load, as well as the health benefits of following a low glycemic diet. If you're interested, I've put a link to the studies mentioned in this video in the description below. Now, let's get into the video. The glycemic index ranks carbohydrate-containing foods based on how they affect blood sugar levels compared to pure glucose or white bread, which have a GI of 100. High GI foods cause blood sugars to spike quickly because they're digested fast, while low glycemic index foods digest slowly, leading to a gradual release of sugar into the blood. However, if a food doesn't contain any carbohydrates, it won't have a glycemic index. For example, foods like salmon, chicken, and eggs don't have a glycemic value as they don't contain any carbohydrates. The glycemic index sorts foods into three classes. The first is low glycemic index with 55 or less. These foods cause a slow and steady increase in blood sugar levels. They are often healthier choices because they help maintain stable energy levels and promote better blood sugar control. Most fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, and nuts fall into this category. The second is the medium glycemic index category from 56 to 69. Foods in this category cause a moderate increase in blood sugar levels as they are processed and absorbed by the body at a steady rate. Foods include fruits like bananas and grapes, certain types of bread, and some types of rice. Lastly, we have high glycemic index foods with 70 or more. These foods cause a rapid spike in blood sugar levels. They are quickly digested and absorbed, leading to a sudden increase in energy followed by a crash. Foods include sugary snacks, white bread, white rice, and most processed and refined carbohydrates. Whether a food is high or low on the glycemic index can be affected by several different factors. Fiber lowers the glycemic index because of its positive effects on blood sugar control, whereas dried fruits have a higher glycemic index due to the removal of water. The ripeness of a fruit can impact its glycemic index. Riper fruits have a higher glycemic index because their starches convert into sugars as they ripen. What we eat our foods with can affect the glycemic index. For example, eating fat and protein alongside carbohydrates can help slow down blood sugar spikes. How we cook our food can also affect its glycemic index. When food is cooked for a longer time, more starches break down into sugars, which can raise its glycemic index. However, the glycemic index has a limitation. It only measures how quickly foods spike blood sugar, without considering the quantity of carbohydrates in food or the portion size consumed. The glycemic index measures how quickly a food raises blood sugar levels by using a fixed amount of carbohydrates, usually 50 grams, and comparing it to the effect of 50 grams of pure glucose over 2 hours. However, in real life, foods have different amounts of carbohydrates, and we eat different portion sizes. So it's important to also consider how many carbohydrates are in the food and how much of it we eat. This is where the glycemic load comes in, as it considers both the glycemic index and the actual amount of carbohydrates in a serving. Glycemic load is determined using this simple equation. This equation multiplies the glycemic index, which measures how quickly a food raises blood sugar, by the amount of carbohydrates in a typical serving, and then divides by 100. The glycemic load is thought to give better predictions of how a food will affect blood sugar levels. So now we know the difference between the glycemic index and the glycemic load. Let's discuss some of the benefits of this dietary pattern. The first benefit of a low glycemic diet is, of course, blood sugar control. A low glycemic diet may improve insulin sensitivity, which is important for people with diabetes or those at risk of developing diabetes. So here's what the studies reveal. A 2023 review of 42 randomized controlled trials examined how different diets impact blood sugar control in individuals with type 2 diabetes. The review concluded that the low glycemic diet, ketogenic diet, and moderate carbohydrate diet were all effective diets for helping to control blood sugar in patients with type 2 diabetes, but the ketogenic diet was the most effective. Nonetheless, the researchers emphasize that more research is needed to properly confirm these results. Some studies indicate that a low glycemic diet may also help prevent the risk of developing type 2 diabetes. For example, a 2024 review of 5 studies found that people who ate a high glycemic diet were 27% more likely to develop type 2 diabetes. Moving on to the next benefit, the low glycemic diet may benefit heart health. In a 2023 review of 15 studies, a high glycemic load diet was found to increase the risk of mortality from heart disease by 18%. But according to an older review of 8 studies, high glycemic load diets may increase the risk of mortality from heart disease more in women than in men. Men had an 8% increased risk, while women had a 69% increased risk. Additionally, the researchers noted that a high glycemic load may have worse effects on obese and overweight people. Next, the low glycemic diet may benefit brain health. In one study, researchers discovered that eating lots of high glycemic foods, sugar and carbs, was linked to increased amyloid levels. Amyloid plaques are sticky clumps of protein that can build up in the brain and are linked to Alzheimer's disease. They found that a diet high in sugar and carbs was strongly linked to more amyloid plaques in the brain and worse cognitive performance. Additionally, some studies suggest a link between low glycemic diets and better cognition and memory. For example, a 2022 review of 33 studies found having a low-sugar breakfast is better for memory later in the day compared to a high-sugar one for adults, kids, and teens. However, not all studies agree on this, so it's too early to say everyone should switch to low-sugar breakfasts for better memory. Still on the subject of brain health, a low glycemic diet may also help reduce the risk of stroke mortality. A 2022 review of 15 studies found that a high glycemic load increases the risk of stroke mortality by 30%, while another study found that high glycemic index foods were linked to an 87% higher risk of stroke, whereas increasing carbohydrate intake from low glycemic index foods did not produce this increase. Lastly, a low glycemic diet may lower the risk of certain cancers. In a 2019 review, researchers found that a high glycemic index diet may increase the risk of colorectal cancer by 20%, bladder by 25%, and kidney by 16%. For glycemic load, there may be an increase in the risk of endometrial cancer by 22%. However, while these findings suggest a potential link, more research is needed to confirm the strength of these associations. So, that's it for today's video. Don't forget to consult with a healthcare professional before making any significant changes to your diet or lifestyle, especially if you have underlying health conditions. Thank you so much for watching, and if you found this video useful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more science-backed tips on health and wellness. Until next time, take care.